Okay, Phil, we're all set.
Good evening and welcome to the January 21st, 2021 Board of Education meeting, which is now called to order. It is being conducted remotely for the purpose of protecting public health and in compliance with directives as allowed by Illinois Public Act 101-640. Let's see, you have options to connect for the agenda. Whoops, I am looking, pardon me, folks, pardon me just a quick second. I've got the wrong script in front of me. Okay, here we go. As a virtual meeting, any individual wishing to share public comment during this meeting must complete the public comment form prior to starting the public comment section of the meeting. And the individual needs to be connected to the meeting via Zoom and use their first and last name as their Zoom screen name. Okay. We are now establish a quorum. Secretary McAtee, would you please take roll?
Certainly. Phil?
Aye.
Stacy Allen?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Arlen?
Aye.
Bill?
Present.
Stacy?
Yes.
And Jessica?
Yes.
Okay, we have a quorum.
Okay, thank you very much. Welcome again, everyone. This is a momentous week. We started out the week on Monday commemorating Martin Luther King Jr. Birthday, and we can certainly take a lot from his teachings especially about nonviolent protest and how effective that is as opposed to the opposite. On Tuesday, we were able to welcome back students into our hybrid classroom settings. We were pleased to be able to do that as we had planned to when we broke last fall. And then yesterday, of course, we had on a federal level, we had a successful transition of our national government. I'm happy to project that the incoming Secretary of Education, as well as the administration, is positive towards public dollars going to public schools. So we look forward as the new administration unfolds to seeing those things actually come to pass. We will start with board communications. I'm sorry. First, would everyone please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you again, everyone. Appreciate your patience and indulgence. We'll start now with board comments, and we will begin with NSSCO and Debbie.
Thank you. Good evening. Not a real lot. I don't know if everybody is aware, but for the past 5 years, NSSCO has been putting aside money for the Timber Ridge elevator and gym project. They do not have a full-size gym that is good for them. And they also have a second floor. However, most of their students can't access the second floor. So we've been putting aside money every year for the past 5 years. We've got just over $6 million, and we approved this month to go out for bid on the project. Hopefully we will be breaking ground in June and we'll be done in December. So that's something we've been looking forward to.
Sounds good. Any questions for Debbie on NSSCO? Seeing none, I'll move over to EdRed and Bill.
Thank you, Phil. With EdRed, we did have a brief meeting of the executive board on January 8th to discuss what was then the upcoming lame duck session and the proposals from the Black Legislative Caucus as they pertain to education. Most of the items that we felt that needed further discussions were pulled from the bill for future discussions, most specifically those items that would impact funding under the EBF model. Those will continue to be discussed, and EdRed will monitor them. As I've previously shared, our annual legislative dinner has morphed into tomorrow's virtual legislative summit. And in the event that you missed Sarah's email from earlier this week, our keynote speaker will be the former Proviso board president and EdRed board member, and currently the new Speaker of the Illinois House of Representatives, Chris Welch. And that's it for EdRed.
Okay. Wasn't sure if you had something to add on to that or not, Bill.
Yeah.
We will stay with you then and go to Illinois Association of School Boards update.
Sure. Quickly with that, IASB continues to have a robust series of informational Zoom presentations. Today, I listened into Collective Bargaining Update Part 1. If you missed that presentation, it will shortly be available on the website, and you could sign up for Part 2 while you're there, which is going to be held in a couple weeks. You should be receiving regular emails from Dean Langdon of the IASB announcing upcoming events like that. The North Cook Spring Divisional Meeting will be held on Wednesday, March 17th. The meeting will again be held virtually, and the keynote speaker for that will be Dr. Schuler of District 214. And finally, Phil, you did steal a little bit of my thunder because I was also going to mention what was going on in the country, and to note that it's going to be very good to finally have a new Secretary of Education in Washington who actually has a background in education. And I will leave it at that.
Absolutely. Thanks, Bill. Appreciate that. Next, Arlen, North Cook Intermediate Service Center. Any update there?
Yeah, well, we just had our meeting, and I'm going to send everybody the details so I don't spend the time now. But highlights is obviously our revenues have been affected a bit by the fact that. Are you saying something to me, Phil? I can't hear you.
Go ahead, Arlen.
Okay. So the revenues have been affected more than we had expected. But on the other side, the staff is doing some really creative stuff to create new programming for the time. You know, much of our revenue comes from programs that we, in effect, offer out to our school district member districts. And April, who's the lead person in that, April Jordan, has just put together a tremendous range. I was very impressed by the new programming she's offering. We're also looking at, and I discussed this briefly with Mike, kids, we're not getting as many kids in the program, in the school program. So they're coming up with shorter term options. So kids can be there for 3 days rather than being suspended for 3 days. And they're working on a whole host of new programs, which they expect to begin to fill some of those revenue holes. Staff has been pretty much remote up until now as well, but I think they're starting to bring them back in gradually now. And that would be it.
Okay. Jessica, anything that you attended you'd like to share?
No, I don't have any updates this month.
Okay. Stacy A.
Just wanted to plug the Wheeling Helping Hands Food Pantry that's still collecting stuff between 9 and 11 on Saturday mornings. They're kind enough to post a list of what they could use from week to week. They are taking care of, I think the last number I saw was about 60 families that get a box from them each week on Saturday afternoons, and they still are collecting donations every week. Dave Vogel. So if anybody needs any information, let me know, and we're going to drop a big box off this Saturday.
Okay, very good. Stacy Gatz, is there anything that you wish to share?
No, I won't go into any detail because I see this is on the staff communication superintendent report, and I think Dr. Connolly will hit it. But 2 weeks from this Saturday, 2 weeks ago, we started the kickoff DE&I with community member. And I just wanted to say thank you for choosing me to be on this committee. It was a great meeting, and I look forward to the others and making progress in this space.
Okay, thank you. We look forward to Dr. Conley's report on that. Before we leave board communications, we did have a finance committee meeting immediately before our regular meeting tonight with Stacy Getz and Arlen Gould. We had two topics that we were dealing with. One was the initial review of our audit first-year auditors, Baker Tilly, made a wonderful report, giving us a very, very high opinion, which we're certainly thankful of, and staff's efforts over the past year and in previous years as well. And then we had a first look at a 10-year capital needs plan that will be coming back to us as well. Some of it is leftover work from our referendum a couple years back, and then taking a look at some of the infrastructure needs going forward. But we'll certainly have a lot to chew on as we move forward over the next few months with our capital needs. So that's it for board communications. We'll move into staff communications and superintendent's report. Dr. Connolly.
Well, good evening, everybody. Have a couple of items to update the board on this evening. The first one is the presentation of our recommended school year calendar for 21-22, which this is about always the time of year that we begin to look ahead and what our calendar should be. And so I'm going to turn it over to Bob Gurney to preview that recommendation.
Good evening. We'd like to start by thanking all the administrators and DEA representatives that helped us kind of put this calendar together as we were considering different drafts. We're really excited about this calendar with the aligning up with District 214 like we have in the past for winter and spring breaks. We're also looking at a second year of having parent-teacher conferences that Monday and Tuesday right before Thanksgiving. Staff were in attendance on those days, and parents had the option of having during the day or evening conferences, which we felt was an improvement from the previous years. And then we've got Institute days and school improvement days, obviously assigned on the calendar draft to best meet our instructional needs. This year, March 15th, we have the gubernatorial primary election, which we have slotted as a day off for the students and the staff. Any questions about the calendar that you guys have in front of you?
Board members, any questions? Bill, go ahead.
Just quickly, and not directly on the calendar itself, but Mike, a while back you brought to us a question about going remote for snow days. And at the time we had that discussion, we felt the community wasn't ready for it. Given all that we've gone through over the past year, is that a topic you're going to bring back to us to discuss?
Yes. I think that we've got ample evidence at this point that going remote to avoid emergency days is something that we would be able to successfully do. Now, I want to remind the board, however, that there was a significant number of regulations put in place by the state, the state board, in terms of the district's use of those days, such as performing a public hearing, and some of those types of things. Now with COVID, all of those regulations were put aside. And so, it's still somewhat uncertain as to what level those regulations are going to come back, particularly since we've now been functioning almost a year with a significant number of remote teaching days. So it's a little uncertain what that landscape is going to be. But if that is still something that we're going to need to do in terms of having a public hearing and things of that nature, that would be something that we would be doing this summer.
Thank you.
So can I ask a follow-up question to that?
Sure.
I know that we have had internet companies and be very generous with providing Wi-Fi, extra Wi-Fi into our areas. I know my neighborhood, Xfinity, at the beginning of the pandemic took some of the Wi-Fi regulations off, so no one was scrambling for Wi-Fi. If we went to doing those remote snow days where we were allowed, would you feel comfortable that everybody would have enough internet access to be able to participate at the same level?
Yes, if you recall, in the spring, we became part of the 1 Million Project and secured 1,500 hotspots that were distributed to kids who needed them. Now, one of the things that we have found is that with the on a monthly basis with the amount of remote video that needed to happen, that, you know, we got into some bandwidth issues, but on single day type situations, we wouldn't have that problem. So yeah, I have no concerns whatsoever about our ability to ensure that all of our students would have access if were we to do a snow day, remote learning day.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Arlen, go ahead.
I just want to be clear because of the climate out there regarding remote learning. This is not something we're doing tonight. This is something we'll look at down the road. Mike has issues that he would bring to us that we would need to consider. And just speaking for me, I'd want to review it at the time Mike presents a full package. So I don't want parents, if they're watching, to think, oh, here they go, they're jumping into more remote learning, because that's not what's happening tonight.
Correct. Anybody else? Questions on the calendar? Bob, thank you. Appreciate
Thanks,
that.
Bob.
Appreciate the work of the committee as well.
They were wonderful. Thank you guys very much.
So moving on, I wanted to give a brief update on where we stand with our COVID response. As Phil noted, students who have elected to be in person resumed in person, our in-person hybrid schedule on Tuesday. A lot of good reaction. Staff really happy to see the kids happy to be back. You know, our internal data over the first couple of days back has, you know, remained to be very strong. You know, I think that we're in a good spot, and obviously we are continuing to, you know, watch very closely, and we have all of the mitigation measures in place should we need to take them. You know, I just want to kind of reiterate the fact that, you know, we have a good 6-7 weeks of evidence that our mitigation efforts do work. And so as the infection numbers come down, and they are coming down in Illinois, I think we are in a position to be able to keep our students in person, those who elect to be so. Obviously, we are concerned about the new strains. I know that I guess they're calling it the UK strain, seems to be more easily transmissible from child to child, but we haven't had any indication that strain has been identified in our area. We know that they've identified it in Illinois, but we don't have, you know, any evidence. So, but nonetheless, between social distancing, between the other things that we are doing on a daily basis, I think we have everything in place that we can. The president today issued an executive order to the Department of Education, as well as the Health and Human Services Department, to issue updated guidance to school districts. And so obviously we are awaiting that guidance with great interest. You know, one of the things that we're also obviously in very, very close contact with, particularly through the regional office, is the vaccination availability for staff. Our staff that is considered to be 1A, which is our nurses, health assistants, speech language pathologists, and, you know, occupational therapists, physical therapists, are starting to have access to the vaccine. It's a little frustrating because, you know, depending on the county, there are some counties that are far ahead of where Cook County is. But to be fair, Cook County is the size of all of the collar counties combined. And so just logistically, there are issues. I also want to note that there are separate health departments in suburban Cook County that are not part of the Cook County Department of Public Health. So the Skokie area, I believe Cicero, Stickney Township, places like that have separate health departments. And so those health departments are operating their own vaccinations. And so, for instance, the Skokie area, Skokie area districts, some of their 1B staff, which are teachers and so on and so forth, have already started getting shots in arms. All right, so it is coming. There is frustration with, well, why are they getting it and we haven't gotten it yet? But it is coming, and I'm hopeful within the next 3 to 4 weeks, we're going to be in a situation where we can, start to see our staff be able to receive the vaccine. We are working very closely, as I said, with Kevin Yock, the regional superintendent. He is just doing a yeoman's job with the county to try and establish a network of North Cook high schools that can act as vaccination sites. That would be, a pipeline to being able to manage that. One of the things that I do want to just alert the board to, and anybody who may be listening in, is that this is one of those situations where we may not have a lot of lead time. We may very well get the go now order for our staff to go and get vaccinated. And so we are at the mercy of the county health department and their readiness in terms of being able to schedule folks to go get their vaccines. And the rapidity at which they need to do that. So that may have an impact on school operations. I just want to make sure that everybody is aware of that possibility. We may end up having to declare a remote day at a certain building or so on, so that staff can go and get vaccinated. I just don't know exactly when and how that's going to happen. Hopefully it'll be logistically such that we can mitigate those things, but we're kind of at the mercy of others. Likewise, what the indication we're getting is the vaccines are very safe and they are effective. However, there are some post-vaccination side effects. Basically, people feel pretty icky for a day or two after they get the vaccine, particularly the Pfizer or the Moderna vaccines. I don't know if the same the Johnson & Johnson vaccine that may get emergency use authorization in the next couple of weeks, but nonetheless. So I also want to kind of just put it out there into the universe that we may have some operational impact there as well. So if we have a large number of staff that got the vaccine on a particular day, and some of them just don't feel good, we don't want them coming to school when they're not feeling good. We all know how that is, and so that may have an impact. Apparently, this is also very prevalent after the second dose. So it's maybe a little bit more mild after the first shot, but after the second shot, that's kind of when really people feel ick. Again, can't predict. Don't think that there's going to be a lot of ability to give advance notice. So I just kind of want to put that out there and try to manage those expectations.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions?
Sorry, one more thing on COVID. So I kind of also wanted to say that we over winter break, we were approached by North Shore Health System to provide or to consider being a partner in providing additional testing access to the community. And this testing access is at, if those are insured, they would bill insurance. If people do not have insurance, it's no out of pocket. They would put in for reimbursement through the state and so on and so forth. So really providing additional access to testing, which it is a key to trying to be able to better manage the pandemic, and certainly a priority of the administration that just took office yesterday. We studied this very closely with North Shore. They came on site. They have been operating these partnerships in other locations, park districts and other areas around the North Cook. And ultimately, where we found was that there was an opportunity, particularly on Saturdays, for the community, and then on Mondays for staff and the families of staff to provide additional access to testing. And so we are moving forward with that, and we informed the community and the staff about that. London is our testing site. And we got not a lot, but I got about 3 or 4 emails of parents noting concern. There were a couple of staff that were concerned about the safety of it. And so I just want to, we sent some additional information out clarifying the sanitation, actions that are going to be taken after the, whenever the testing is in sight, that access to the building is very restricted, that this is going to be something that is going to be very safe and not increase the risk of transmission for our staff or students or their families, particularly on Saturday with the community. The buildings are closed otherwise. This is also not a drop-in. This is testing that needs to occur by appointment and is very, very, very strictly managed by North Shore Health. Obviously, as people are coming in, they are wearing masks. The staff of the hospital that are producing the test are in appropriate PPE. Our custodial staff, after each day, will be sanitizing the entire area, including high touch points. We have atomizers that disinfect. They will be going through those areas. Our air systems, our HVAC systems, will be fully operational and turning over fresh air throughout. So the risk is minimal, and we really felt strongly that this was a service to our community, and it was something that we wanted to provide. So again, we haven't gotten a lot of concerned emails. We did get a couple of comments on social media that we can see. We know there's a lot of private groups that we don't necessarily have access to, so we can't speak to that. But we're very confident of the safety of this, and certainly would not be moving forward with it had we any concern that this would heighten risk for anybody associated with our district.
Thanks, Dr. Connolly. Mike and I had spoken about this because we did get very few, but we did get a couple in the last day or so about the testing. And I'd just like to underscore the fact that as a community institution, we thought it was a significant service to our community to be able to offer this at one of our sites. So with the protocols that Mike has just identified, I know I, for one, feel very, very safe that everything is being addressed from a protective point of view. So hopefully it all will go well once it starts. Deb, go ahead.
Yeah, I have been involved a little bit with one of the more private conversations regarding this with some parents from London. And the big question I want to know is, do we know where the testing will be done? Is it going to be like back in the cafeteria? I know it's not in a classroom.
Right. So the Saturday testing is right in the front commons as you come into London. So it's right in that main open area, and there is no access to any other part of the buildings, including bathrooms. Those are shut down. So they will be restricted to those areas. On Monday, students are not in attendance. They are, it's a full remote day on Mondays for middle school. And on Monday for the staff testing, that is in the main gym. And so that is a contained space in there. And again, because those are staff members as well as potentially family members of the staff, we know who they are, and we have an ability to really. And by the way, it's by appointment only as well. I myself signed up for an appointment on Monday, not because I have any concern that I have, but I haven't been tested yet, and so to have access to it is something that I'm going to take advantage of. And so, it is a highly controlled area and situation.
Marlon?
Yeah, I feel like it's a service for the community that we should offer. I'm in favor of it. I didn't disagree when Mike presented it in the first place. I think it's safe. I
Okay.
do.
Thank you. Anybody else before we move on? Thank you. Deb, thanks for raising that question as well. Third item, Dr. Connolly's presentation is an update on our district equity work that Stacy had mentioned at the beginning on the board communication. So looking very much forward to your presentation on this one, Mike.
Yeah, and it's just a quick update. Very excited, as Stacy mentioned, that we officially kicked off the deep work of our district in ensuring that we are providing equity and educational opportunity for all of our students, and that we are really looking fundamentally at who we are and what we do and how we make decisions as a district to ensure equity. And so we have two different groups. We have what we're calling SEAC, which is the Superintendent's Equity Advisory Committee, and that is made up of community members and parents, and Jessica Riddick and Stacy Getz as the board representatives. And that is the group that met on Saturday, I think it was January 9th, if that, whatever the first Saturday of January was. Second Saturday of January.
Yeah.
So that was just a great meeting where we as a group assembled, and we're being led through this effort by Dr. Yvette Dubiel, who is, one of the premier people in the state working on issues of equity in education. She serves on state panels for the State Board of Education. She is working with, I think, 40 districts as we speak on these different efforts, and is really just an expert in the field. And so she took us through in our first meeting really some professional development, some Equity 101 work, and really talking about some of those baseline definitions, terminology, kind of as we get into the equity work. One of the strongest things, and Jessica and Stacy, please feel free to jump in here as well. One of the strongest things that I felt just so gratified by on Saturday is the wealth of experience and diversity and interest in a relatively small group of people. We've got about 15 people, but we've got such diverse background. We have individuals who have immigrated to this country that have gone through what it's like to be an immigrant to the country. One from West Africa, one from, it just a lot, and you don't know people's story, right? And so when you start to hear people's story, you go, wow, just amazing, the kind of wealth of experience that we have access to. And I just am so thankful to those who have shown the interest to be part of that. So I'll pause so that Jessica and Stacy can jump in here before I start talking about the staff team.
Thank you, Dr. Connolly. I just wanted to note it was great to meet Dr. Dubiel. She laid out this incredible process that we're going to be learning and growing over the next couple of months together, and creating a framework so that we can be a leader in equity in our district. And just to echo what Dr. Connolly said about the group of participants, just really rich in different resources and experiences, and really representative, I think, of our community as a whole. Just everyone very receptive to the hard and difficult work that's ahead of us, noting the particular challenges that we're all going to be facing as we grow together, and everyone ensuring that we have a safe space here so that we can grow together. And I'm honored to be part of the process, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Jess. Stacy?
Same, I really don't have much to add other than, in addition to the depth and breadth of experiences that the people brought with them, they also brought an incredibly high level of engagement and, in just excitement about taking on this opportunity and sharing what can be some traumatic stories, and their vulnerability and their confidence in us to walk with us through this process and trust us enough to share those experiences. So people like myself who, can check off a lot of the historically included boxes really get an opportunity to see life from a different perspective. So we owe them a lot. We will owe them a lot because there's more work to be done, but it's very encouraging.
Thank you. Mike?
So on the following Monday, so January 11th, our staff team met for the first time. And so we've got the staff team is known as the District Equity Leadership Team. And it is comprised of just under 40 staff members from across the district, administrators, teachers, support staff. And we met in a full day session, which was an expanded version of the professional development that Dr. Dubiel had provided for the community group on Saturday. And, again, largely the same experience as with the community group, just the depth and breadth of experience and stories and interest that came to the table amongst staff members, and quite frankly, learned some things about folks that never would have known otherwise, and that's always exciting, to see a kind of a different aspect of somebody that you've worked with or have gotten to meet. Again, that group, a lot of excitement, a deep engagement, and really looking at this from, I think, which is a very good lens of mission-driven work. There isn't any reticence about engaging in this work with the group that has come together. There's also no question that at times this is going to be very difficult work to do. That there's going to be those moments when when we're talking about privilege that we may have had in our own lives and lack of access that just doesn't even dawn on us, and then also just kind of challenging how we're thinking about how we view our students, how we view intervention that we need to do, and kind of just what the mindset is about really providing equitable educational experiences for the full range and continuum of our students. I think that there's a lot of introspection that we need to do as a system to note where our focus is at times and where it needs to be. So just really great activity. And one of the things that's very just awesome about how Dr. Dubiel has structured this is that she's keeping us on task. This is not a kind of wandering through the wilderness type of situation. There is a very distinct path to getting to a producible, which is the completion of an equity audit in the district and an equity plan, which of course will then be supportive of the strategic plan that the board adopted a year ago. So just a lot of great work. Our next meetings are coming up. On the next Saturday meeting is January 30th. And I believe our next staff team meeting is February 11th, if the date doesn't escape me. So, this is a progressive timeline and just very excited about it.
Very good. Very good. That's exciting information, timely and extremely important work. No question about it. Any other comments or questions from the board before we move on?
Just quickly, Phil, Mike,
No.
You mentioned a producible.
Mm-hmm.
When would you expect the board might be able to see that?
So the equity audit document that comes from the work will be available in late spring, early summer, let's say June-ish. The work of actually developing the equity plan will then continue in the early fall of the start of the new school year. So there's really a couple of phases of documents that you'll see. But yeah, so the first really kind of producible you'll see in the early part of the summer.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item on our agenda is the public comment section. The board will now receive public comment for up to 3 minutes. Such comments should not include discussion of personnel matters, which should be brought directly to the attention of the appropriate school official. Okay. Mike Frantini, do we have any members of our public?
We do not.
Do not? Okay. Kara, do we have anything in writing to share?
No written comments.
No written comments. Okay. The public.
Phil, if I could, I just want to note that we did receive an email. It was an anonymous email, which we obviously, public comment wise, it's we don't, anonymous emails are not something that we normally include. But I just want to acknowledge that that was one of the emails that I referenced with regards to the concern of the London testing site.
Correct. Thank you, Mike, for sharing that.
Yep.
Next item then is the consent agenda. I believe everybody was present last month. Does anybody have anything that they wish to pull from the consent agenda? Seeing none, may I have a motion, please?
Phil, did you have a chance to review the financials?
Yes, I did. And actually this time I did not even have one question for staff. So it was a good one. It was a good one. Thank you.
Then I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda.
You have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Debbie?
Okay, Bill,
Aye.
Jessica,
Yes.
Stacy, Ellen,
Yes.
myself, yes, Phil,
Aye.
Arlen,
Aye.
and Stacy.
Yes.
Okay. We have no new business. So announcements, our next regular meeting will be on Thursday, February 18th, 2021. And we are hoping, Mike, with everything crossed that we will be in person at the Gate Administration Center.
I just have one quick thing, Mr. Pritzker, if that's all right. I am getting my first COVID vaccine tomorrow morning. Being a healthcare worker, I will say I found out on Tuesday that I could do Thursday or Friday of this week. That's how much notice I got, and was encouraged by my coworkers to do it on a Friday because the first round of people that got it were in fact sick the next 2 days, and so they were glad they did it on a weekend also. So my team is getting vaccinated tomorrow morning, and we just had a couple of days to say yes or no, and here's your time, and here's your paperwork, and show up 15 minutes early, and don't make any plans for the weekend. So I will let you know how it goes, but that is what I am expecting to experience.
Good luck.
Yeah, well, I will say my 3 kids who were on the medical field have gotten their shots, and none of them had any problems at all, except Josh had a mild spike of temperature. So they were fine. I mean, literally none of them had any major issues. So I think it just depends. I mean, luck of the draw. I don't know.
Okay. The board will now be recessing our regular board meeting and convening a closed session. Do we need a motion for that? I suppose.
Yes, I
do.
do.
For that.
I need a motion, yes.
Okay. I'll make the motion. Will someone second it, please?
Second.
Okay, Jessica,
So I'm sorry, just process. In the motion, we need to identify the purpose of the closed session.
You need to read it, Phil.
Oh, yeah, I got to read it. Yeah.
Okay, I was trying to avoid that, but okay, here we go. Be it resolved, the Board of Education approves to recess the CCSD21, January 21, 2021 regular board meeting and convene the closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, specific individuals who serve as independent contractors in a park, recreational, or educational setting, or specific volunteers of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee, a specific individual who serves as an independent contractor in a park, recreational, or educational setting, or a volunteer of the public body, or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity. And we do not anticipate any action coming out of closed session.
Correct. There is no business after close, so the live feed will end as soon as the board completes taking action on moving into closed.
Okay. Debbie, if you would take a roll, please.
Okay, Jessica,
We need a second.
Second,
okay, Jessica,
Yes.
Stacy Allen,
yes.
myself, yes, Phil,
Aye.
Arlen,
Aye.
Stacy,
Yes.
Bill.
Aye.
Thank you, members of the public, for listening in tonight.